class in the high school camp for Veterans Day Assembly. Please take your classes at this time to the Veterans Day. Thank you.
school principal. Today is a chance to recognize and honor those who have served, our heroes, our veterans. We're thankful that you could join us this morning. At this time, I'd ask everyone to please stand and join me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as our high school chamber choir performs our national anthem. At this time, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. This gentleman graduated from Lincoln High School in 1972, entered the U.S. Navy in 1976, earned a bachelor's degree in liberal arts in 1982 while on active duty. He retired from the U.S. Navy as Chief Petty Officer in 1996 and received a second bachelor's degree in History Ed from ISU in 2002. It was 2002 in which he joined the high school faculty and had his first grandchild earlier this year in June. He is retiring after this school year, so please give a warm welcome to our very own Mr. Fox.
Everybody that's here. I've got a couple of helpers up here today. I won't be the entire entertainment. A couple of young lads that are going to read some poetry that are actually going to precede and follow my main remarks. Right now, I just want to say thanks to all of you. I want to introduce just a little bit about veterans in general. Most of you probably are aware that yesterday was an anniversary that's pretty special in world history. Yesterday was the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. Now that was before most of our times here, okay? But that was a pretty big day. The armistice that ended World War I. Definitely a world event with no compare. It's related because Veterans Day is the day that commemorates the end of World War I. November 11th of 1918. We commemorate it here on Mondays in America these days. It's always Monday, whatever the date, because it's more convenient. Okay? But we originally had a little bit of a celebration from that day that eventually turned into something called Armistice Day, because that's what ended the war, was an armistice, just an agreement to stop fighting. And that eventually turned into Veterans Day, because we all know the war to end all wars, World War I, the war to end all wars didn't. And we've had so many wars subsequent to then that honoring our veterans has continued to be an important evolution, not just those that ended World War I. So we stuck with the date, but the name changed to Veterans Day. I'm going to talk just a little bit about the veterans in America right now, then we're going to get on with the main part of the program. Right now, it's estimated there are about 18.5 million veterans in America right now. The last World War I veteran, American veteran, passed away in 2011 at the age of, I believe it was 110. So our World War I veterans are past. World War II veterans, it's estimated that right now there's a little over 1 million that are still with us, and some may be with us here today. Do we have any World War II vets with us here today? Yeah, round of applause. About 2 million Korean War veterans. Do we have any Korean War veterans with us today? See no hands. Somewhere between 6.5 and 7 million Vietnam-era veterans. Do we have Vietnam-era veterans with us today? We've had the Gulf Wars, Iraq, Afghanistan, any number of other little skirmishes to largish wars. About 5.5 million or so of folks that kind of lumped into that post-Vietnam era. Some are still in uniform today. Some have done their time and have moved on back to the civilian world. Who are you folks? Post-Vietnam. Don't quite fit into any of those categories. All right? That's the folks we're talking about today. There are 2 holidays where we honor veterans in the year. The other is Memorial Day. Memorial Day is specifically reserved for those that gave the ultimate sacrifice. A very worthy day, but distinct from today. Today is for every veteran, regardless of the sacrifice, regardless of the contribution, because every veteran has contributed. Veterans don't just kind of do their job and then go home. So today is for all of those folks. So, we'd like to move on. Caden.
I Am a Veteran by Andrea Christensen Brett. You may not know me the first time we met. I'm just another you see on the street. But I'm the reason you walk and breathe free, and I'm the reason for your liberty. I am a veteran. I work in a local factory all day. I own a restaurant just down the way. I sell your insurance. I start your IV. I've got the best looking grandkids you'll ever see. I'm your grocer, your banker, your child school teacher. I'm your plumber, your barber, your family's preacher. But there's a part of me you don't know very well. Just listen a moment. I've got a story to tell. I joined the service while still in my teens. I traded my prom dress for camouflage greens. I'm the first in my family to do something like this. I followed my father, like he followed his, defying my fears and hiding my doubt. I married my sweetheart before I shipped out. I missed Christmas, then Easter, and the birth of my son. But I knew I was doing what had to be done. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little uncomfortable being down here because I've never been one to really be
big on the accolades of being a veteran, this kind of thing. Matter of fact, Veterans Day always makes me kind of anxious, kind of nervous. And I was thinking about what is it that's special about veterans? In honesty, veterans are just kind of ordinary people. Veterans aren't necessarily that special. We're all just average people. As Caden read, we're the plumber. We're the grocery store clerk. We're the folks right out of high school that go off. We're the factory worker. We're just kind of, everybody's, just kind of the same here because everybody's different. We're all special, of course, but are veterans really that special as they start their careers? Some of you will be among the veterans one of these days. On the high school side, could I have the folks that are committed or pretty likely heading for the military in the next year or two? Could you take a stand, please, real quick? All right. You guys know it. You've been enrolled for 7 years. You may have just recently discovered that that's your goal. Some of you may be the grocery store clerk. You may be the plumber. You may be anybody, anywhere that's going to make that decision eventually to go. We're all going to start out kind of like, it's really not a big deal. Now, one thing to note is that today we have an all-volunteer service, so everybody that does go made the decision, I'm going to do it, okay? So we certainly have to applaud that. But we're just not really necessarily all that special when we get started. Not necessarily all that special. I'll tell you my story. When I graduated from high school, 1972, as Mr. Lee revealed, I kind of drifted around. I went to college a little bit. I had a couple of jobs. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I wanted to go with life. And I kind of thought about the military. My father was a World War II and Korean veteran, and he and my mother were both veterans, activists their entire adult lives. So the military wasn't necessarily something totally foreign to me. Within a couple of weeks, I was actually at boot camp from the first time that I even thought about the possibility. And I don't know exactly the reason why. I don't know exactly why I decided. It was kind of like, I don't know, nothing better to do right now, as silly as that sounds. But I joined in the beginning of, it was January 1976, and I ended up going to language school and entering the field of Navy intelligence. I spent 21 years traveling to lots of places that I would never even have thought of going to without the Navy's, shall I say, encouragement. Okay. A lot of places, never went anywhere that I didn't enjoy going to once. There were some that I said, I don't want to go back a second time, thank you, but it was fun once. I spent 21 years, or 1 month shy of 21 years, and in the end of 1996 then, I retired as a Chief Petty Officer. Gotta remember where I was going here. One of the things that really registered with me, and that registers with just about anybody, all of these just sort of ordinary people that are going off and doing their thing for their country, for other benefits, whatever it might be, is the absolute necessity to become a part of a team. To become a part of a team. You've got a big mission, and no one person can do it without all their buddies. Whether that's the foxhole next to them, whether it's the next office cubicle, whether it's the rest of the crew on the airplane, whatever it might happen to be. The military, if nothing else, absolutely demands teamwork. And when we look at that team, let's look at today's military. That team is not just a bunch of folks that came from the same background, that came from the same part of the country, that look alike, that share a whole lot in common necessarily. 12% of the force these days is African American. 6.5% are Hispanic. 5% or so are other minorities. And they're all on the same team, and I may not look like my teammate, but we have to be together. We have to work toward a common cause. If not, there will not be success, and that success might be a life or death decision. So I get to thinking about, well, are we special? Are veterans special? And this is the part where I get uncomfortable talking about myself this way. But as we're going to hear from Luke in a couple of minutes as he finishes up this part of the program, folks are going to be serving in battle on this team, doing their thing to protect themselves, to protect their teammates. They're going to be helping each other through life and death situations. They're going to be bandaging wounds. They're going to be offering up all the logistics and supply support that's needed. They're going to be doing their share of teamwork. And you know what? They all do. The very few that don't really fit in with the whole teamwork thing, that don't really contribute, they end up leaving. They don't hang around because there's no room for folks like that. There's just no room. Some of these folks that we're talking about are going to be injured. They may come home with permanent injuries, of course, especially as we celebrate on Memorial Day or memorialize on Memorial Day. Some will give the ultimate sacrifice. But none of them say no. None of them say, I'm not going to do that. None of them say, I quit. We sort of have rules about not being able to quit. Okay? And veterans do become special people. Some are maybe better suited for it than others. Some may only spend a couple of years. Some may spend decades. But they do become special people. They do become people that are worthy of, I suppose, one day a year here, saying thanks for the service. On this 100th anniversary of the end of the war to end all wars, it's unfortunate that we still have the occasion to come out and recognize the existence of, the need for, and we'll probably always have this need. But it is a worthy day, I suppose. It is a worthy day. And with that, Luke.
I served on the battlefront, I served on the base. I bound up the wounded and begged for God's grace. I gave orders to fire, I followed commands. I marched in a conflict on far distant lands. In the jungle, the desert, on mountains and shores, in bunkers and tents, on dank earthen floors. While I fought on the ground, in the air, on the sea, my family and friends were home praying for me. I came home and moved on, but forever was changed. The perils of war in my memory remained. I don't really say much, I don't feel like I can, but I left home a child and came home a man. I'm part of a fellowship, a strong mighty band, of each man and each woman who served in this great land. And when old glory waves, I stand proud, I stand tall. I helped keep her flying over you, over all.
We will now have the OHS band and the combined OHMS chorus presenting the Armed Forces Pride of America medley of military songs. With each military tune, we would ask that those affiliated with that branch please stand for a couple of moments. And as the chorus gets started,
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So today we commemorate the sacrifice our veterans have made for each and every one of us who is sitting in this gym. I want us to recall that no matter how these veterans have served, anytime an individual chooses to represent his or her country, there's a chance that they may put their lives on the line, whether it's during peacetime or during war. One of my favorite authors is Tim O'Brien, and Tim O'Brien writes about what he knows. Mr. O'Brien knew what it meant to fight for his country as he was drafted to fight in the Vietnam War. Remember that when our veterans put their lives on the line, they do that in a love for their country and for their families. Tim O'Brien, in his book, The Things They Carry, writes, "War is hell, but that's not the half of it. Because war is also mystery and terror and adventure and courage and discovery and holiness and pity and despair and longing and love. War is nasty. War is fun. War is thrilling. War is drudgery. War makes you a man. War makes you dead. The truths are contradictory. It can be argued, for instance, that war is grotesque. But in truth, war is also beauty. For all its horror, you can't help but gape at the awful majesty of combat." These powerful words emphasize the various emotions that our veterans can experience, whether the men and women who are with us today saw combat or served to provide a safe world during peacetime. We must respect the ultimate cost that they were willing to put on the line. Today, each of you will have a chance to show them your respect. With a simple handshake and the words "thank you," each of you can show your gratitude. At this time, we're going to dismiss our veterans out, and we're going to ask that they form a receiving line. Our middle school students will be going down this way, so if you, as individual veterans, have middle school students that you wish to greet, please choose that particular side. Our high school students will exit on this side. And at this time, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and take your places. As we go through, a couple of things that we need to remember. We live at a time that's very different, and so it's important that we remember the aspects of respect. I ask that we remember to put our phones away, to take our earbuds out, and to make sure our goods are down, as we thank these individuals for their ultimate sacrifice. Thank you.